You can push a chosen one. You can provoke. You can doubt. You can gossip. You can plot. But you better be ready for what happens next, because chosen ones don't break the way you think they will. You don't get to write their ending. You don't get to trap them with your assumptions. You don't get to define their limits. Every time someone tried to silence one, bury one, break one, they forgot one universal truth. You don't try a chosen one unless you're ready for the consequences. This message is a portal, a divine frequency aligned just for you. Don't skip it. Don't scroll past it. Watch this video until the very end, and you'll know why you were guided here. You're not here by mistake. You're here because something bigger is speaking to you. Write your warmest wishes in the comments and type 144 to send your energy into the universe. This is a moment of alignment, where the intention becomes manifestation and wishes begin to anchor in reality. You are not just watching. You are participating in a shift. Now, chosen one, show your light by liking this video and subscribe to the channel. And let's step into this together. Chosen ones don't start strong. They're forged in fire. People look at them and assume they're ordinary because they don't shine like everyone else at first. They're quiet. They move differently. They absorb more than they speak. But what no one sees is what they're carrying. The weight of generations, the fire of purpose, the silence of someone who listens deeply. You can try them. You can test them. You can betray them. But the moment they decide to rise, there's nothing you can do to stop them. Every insult, every rejection, every attempt to destroy them becomes fuel. Every word thrown to wound becomes a brick in the empire they're building. What you thought would break them actually refined them. What you hoped would bury them actually pushed them deeper into alignment. That's the thing about chosen ones. The more pressure you apply, the more they activate. They're not powered by praise. They're powered by prophecy. And the prophecy is unshakable. You see, chosen ones remember who they are through opposition. They remember their voice when people try to silence them. They remember their power when people try to strip it away. They remember their path when people try to block it. Your attacks don't weaken them, they wake them. They awaken a force that's not interested in revenge, but in rising. Not interested in arguments, but in alignment. Not interested in noise, but in legacy. The most dangerous person you'll ever meet is a chosen one who's been underestimated. Not because they're cruel, but because they're clear. Clear on who they are. Clear on what they carry. Clear on what they will and will not tolerate. They've already walked through fire. They've already healed from betrayal. They've already built from ruins. So when you try them now, you're not shaking a fragile soul. You're provoking a warrior in full awareness. They don't respond with chaos. They don't move with fear. They respond with energy, with focus, with the kind of silence that speaks louder than rage. They won't lower themselves to your level. They'll just rise so high you can no longer reach them. And when they move, things shift. People leave. Systems collapse. New paths open. You can't contain that kind of force. You can only witness it. Chosen ones don't need revenge. Their evolution is the revenge. Their peace is the punishment. Their purpose is the proof. They don't strike back. They rise forward. They don't scream to be heard. They become undeniable. And when they step into their power fully, those who once doubted them feel it. Not because the chosen one tries to prove anything, but because their presence becomes too potent to ignore. You think you're testing them, but really, you're testing yourself. Because when you provoke a chosen one, you provoke divine motion. When you try to block them, you put yourself in the way of something bigger, something cosmic, something beyond your reach. And no one who has ever tried to stop a chosen one has walked away untouched. Not by their hand, but by the consequences of touching what was never yours to interrupt. You thought you were hurting them, but you were training them. You thought you were delaying them, but you were sharpening them. Every attempt to harm them sent them deeper into purpose. Every attempt to shame them made them bolder in truth. That's the thing. They alchemize everything. The pain, the lies, the isolation. They turn it all into gold. They don't run from the dark. They own it. And when they finally rise, they don't even look back. They don't explain. They don't beg. They don't engage. They just move. And the ones who once laughed, once doubted, once whispered, they fall silent. Because now, the chosen one isn't just an idea. They're reality. And reality doesn't need permission. Reality doesn't need applause. Reality arrives. You don't play with someone who was built in silence. You don't challenge someone who was raised by fire. You don't mock someone who's learned to sit with pain until it teaches. And most of all, you don't try someone who knows they were chosen. That's not ego. That's truth. That's divine recognition. That's alignment with purpose so strong that even the attacks start to work in their favor. They don't fold when you push. They transform. They don't collapse when you plot. They expand. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. They've already become untouchable. Not because they're above anyone, but because they're no longer within reach of the things that once tried to destroy them. They've outgrown the chaos. They've transcended the need to fight. They don't need to defend. Their existence is the defense. You didn't see the years they were silent. You didn't see the days they broke in private. You didn't see the nights they questioned everything, but still rose the next morning. That's why their power feels unfamiliar. Because it wasn't built in performance. It was built in solitude. It was built in battles no one clapped for. And now, it's rooted in something that can't be undone. This is your reminder, not just to never try a chosen one, but to realize you are one. You didn't go through all of that for nothing. You didn't get torn down just to stay broken. You didn't get buried just to stay in the dark. Everything you went through, every betrayal, every fall, every silence, it was shaping the force you're about to unleash. You are not fragile. You are forged. You are not waiting. You are rising. And anyone who tries you now, they'll learn. This isn't the version that breaks. This is the version that builds, that leads, that rises, that won't be stopped. You learn the true power of a chosen one not in how they start, but in how they respond after being tried. They don't rush to react. They don't scramble to defend. They sit with it. They let the attack echo. And then they rise. Not with words, but with moves. Not with noise, but with energy. The same people who once thought they had power over the chosen one come to realize something too late. Their biggest mistake wasn't underestimating the chosen one. It was thinking they could touch what was divinely protected. People confuse silence for weakness. But a chosen one's silence isn't submission, it's calculation. They observe. They wait. They let the false fall away. And when they move, it's surgical, precise, unapologetic. Because by the time they move, they've already seen everything clearly. They've already processed the pain. They've already forgiven what needs forgiving. What's left? Only purpose, only power, only movement. You don't try a chosen one because you don't know what's backing them. You don't know the prayers behind them, the energy surrounding them, the assignment they carry. It's not personal power alone. It's spiritual force. It's the kind of force that can't be intimidated, can't be manipulated, and definitely can't be broken. Chosen ones aren't just spiritually awake. They're divinely aligned. And when a person is aligned, there is no attack that can take them off their path. You thought your betrayal would distract them, but it sharpened them. You thought your gossip would derail them, but it grew them. You thought your silence would crush them, but it freed them. That's the irony. Every time a chosen one is tested, they don't lose energy. They gain clarity. They lose what they never needed. They gain exactly what takes them to the next level. What was sent to destroy them becomes the wind that lifts them higher. A chosen one doesn't fight for approval. They stopped needing that long ago. They're not here to be liked. They're here to fulfill a calling. Their presence challenges people who are still hiding from their own potential. That's why they're misunderstood. That's why they're labeled too intense, too different, too much. But the truth is, they're just too real, too aligned, too awake to play small, too aware to tolerate what drains their light. There's a moment in every chosen one's life when they stop doubting and start declaring. They stop hoping and start knowing. That shift is everything, because the moment they realize nothing outside of them can define what's inside of them, they become unstoppable. Not loud, not reckless, unstoppable. They move in such deep trust that even failure can't shake them. They understand the assignment runs deeper than outcomes. People will say, "You've changed," but the truth is, you returned. Returned to your truth. Returned to your power. Returned to the version of you that existed before the world told you to dim your light. You didn't change. You awakened. And awakening is uncomfortable to those still asleep. Your evolution will irritate the ones who benefit from your stagnation. Let it. That's how you know the shift is working. You are not meant to convince them. You are not meant to fit in. You are meant to disrupt, to trigger what needs to be healed, to activate what's been ignored, to reflect what's possible when someone says, "I will not break." That reflection will offend those not ready to evolve. But your job isn't to comfort them. Your job is to keep rising, keep shining, keep walking in your energy without apology. The tests will keep coming, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Every test is a mirror. It shows you who you are now compared to who you once were. Do you still react from pain, or do you move from power? Do you still explain yourself to people who misunderstand your light, or do you stay focused on your path? The more you rise, the clearer this becomes. Peace is your currency now. Alignment is your compass. Purpose is your pulse. You've passed through too much to still be doubting your value. You've walked through fire that others couldn't survive. You've held your own in silence. You've endured betrayal, loss, confusion, and still, you didn't fold. If they knew what it took for you to still be standing, they'd stop trying to bring you down. But you don't need them to know. You know. And that's all that matters now. From here on, your moves will be felt before they're seen. Your presence will be known before you speak. Your energy will speak louder than your past. Not because you need to be flashy, but because you're finally walking in undeniable truth. You're finally moving without dragging the weight of who you used to be. You don't owe the past anything anymore. It served you. It shaped you. Now it's behind you. The most dangerous version of a chosen one is the one who no longer carries resentment. The one who forgave, not to excuse what happened, but to release it. Because that release clears the channel. It opens the path. It makes room for what's next. And what's next for you? It's powerful, it's protected, and it's already in motion. So when they try you, and they will, you don't need to clap back. You don't need to stoop to pettiness. You simply continue. You continue walking with your head high. You continue building in silence. You continue creating, healing, speaking, leading, because your life will always speak louder than your enemies. Your light will always outlast the shade. And when it's all said and done, they won't remember the lies they told. They'll remember how you rose anyway, how you never gave them the reaction they craved, how you became untouchable, not by being perfect, but by being anchored. Anchored in purpose. Anchored in alignment. Anchored in divine power that can't be copied or killed. Don't try a chosen one. They've already seen too much, and they're just getting started. A chosen one who used to respond with emotion now moves with intention. You've outgrown the version of yourself that reacted to every insult, every betrayal, every low-vibration attempt to shake your peace. You don't flinch like you used to. You don't take the bait. You've tasted something deeper than revenge. You've tasted alignment. And once you've experienced that kind of clarity, chaos becomes too expensive to entertain. Your silence now is not weakness. It's strategy. You've learned the difference between power and noise. Power doesn't need to prove. Power doesn't need to be loud. It simply is. And when you've been through enough, you begin to value what doesn't drain your energy. You begin to master the art of detachment. You're no longer driven by who hurt you. You're driven by what you're here to build. What once triggered you now teaches you. They don't know what they're doing when they try you. They see calm and mistake it for softness. They see your grace and think it means you can't strike. But what they don't realize is this. You've already fought battles they'll never understand. You've already been forged in disappointment, in silence, in solitude. You've already faced the kind of pain that rewired your spirit. So now, your peace isn't up for negotiation. You protect it like a kingdom because it is won. You're no longer interested in convincing people to respect you. If they can't see the depth, they don't belong near the throne. You don't beg for loyalty. You don't beg for love. You are love. You walk in integrity. You show up in truth. And the right ones feel it. They don't need to be persuaded. They recognize you because they're becoming someone just like you, shaped, tested, and chosen. When a chosen one rises, the world shifts. Not because the world is ready, but because divine timing doesn't need permission. What you're building now isn't just about success. It's about fulfillment, peace, purpose. You no longer chase opportunities, you attract them. Your very presence creates momentum, not because you're trying harder, but because you're vibrating higher. That's the part people can't imitate, the frequency. They can copy your moves, mimic your style, steal your words, but they can't manufacture your energy. That energy was earned in the shadows. That energy was shaped in the waiting. And now, it follows you like armor. That's why you walk the way you do. That's why doors open before you knock. That's why certain rooms shift the second you enter, because your energy is already known. Don't try a chosen one when they've made peace with being misunderstood. Don't try a chosen one who's no longer ruled by ego, but by awareness. Don't try a chosen one who has nothing to prove, only something to live. They're no longer moved by criticism. They don't chase revenge. They simply become the version of themselves no one saw coming. You don't even need to explain yourself anymore. The story is unfolding exactly as it should. Every plot twist, every delay, every heartbreak, it's all leading somewhere divine. You see it now. You see how the resistance sharpened your edge. You see how the setbacks built your stamina. You see how the silence wasn't punishment, it was preparation. They thought you were gone, but you were simply going deeper. They thought you were done, but you were just beginning. And now, they'll have to adjust to this new version, the one who doesn't bend, the one who doesn't beg, the one who doesn't wait to be chosen because they already are. You don't need revenge when you have vision. You don't seek validation when you have values. You don't need recognition when you recognize yourself. That's the shift. You've come home to yourself, fully, fiercely, finally. And now, you don't tolerate what breaks your rhythm. You don't allow access without alignment. You've become too clear, too focused, too powerful to be distracted by noise. Let them talk. Let them test. Let them doubt. Because by the time they realize who they were dealing with, you'll be unreachable. Not because you're hiding, but because you've risen. And chosen ones? They don't come down to argue. They build so high, the only response left is silence. At some point, the chosen one stops asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and starts declaring, "It happened for me." That's the shift. That's when everything changes. When you stop seeing the pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. When the betrayal no longer breaks you, it builds you. When you realize the fire wasn't meant to burn you alive, it was meant to burn away everything you were not. That's where you are now. You don't just survive anymore, you transcend. You walk with scars that no longer hurt, but instead remind you of what you've conquered. And now that you've made it through, no one can manipulate you back into the version of yourself that once allowed access to chaos. That door is closed. That energy is gone. That old identity, dead. You buried it, and what rose from the ashes was a version of you that knows exactly what it carries. You are no longer afraid of being alone. That fear is gone. Because now you see that the isolation was never abandonment. It was alignment. It was the removal of anything that would have diluted your next level. The universe didn't take people from you. It revealed who couldn't go. It showed you who only loved the version of you that was still unsure, still seeking, still needing. But that version is gone. You don't need to be seen. You don't need to be accepted. You don't even need to be liked. You need peace. You need alignment. You need truth. And now that you've prioritized those things, you're starting to realize how unstoppable you truly are. Not because of arrogance, but because of accuracy. You finally see yourself clearly, and you're done apologizing for it. You've tapped into something unshakable, a calm rooted in awareness, a fire that doesn't rage, it burns steady, a power that doesn't perform, it simply exists. You don't force anything anymore. You don't chase. You don't fight to be understood. You observe. You align. You move in silence and allow the results to speak. And the more you do that, the more unstoppable you become. Because what can you do to someone who no longer needs your validation? What can you take from someone who has already rebuilt themselves from dust? What can you threaten someone with when they've already survived worse in silence? That's the thing about trying a chosen one. By the time you realize how deep their roots go, it's too late. You've already awakened a storm you can't escape. You've become a mirror now. Your presence reflects people's unhealed parts. Your energy exposes their masks. That's why they either run from you or try to challenge you. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your existence holds them accountable. They can't manipulate you. They can't distract you. They can't fool you. You're too aware. You see too much. You feel too deeply. And yet, you stay calm. That's what truly confuses them. You don't fight. You don't explain. You don't collapse. You maintain. You remain composed while everything around you changes. Because you're not grounded in circumstance. You are grounded in calling. You don't react to life. You respond to purpose. And that response is precise, powerful, undeniable. You've grown past the version of yourself who needed proof. Now you move off knowing. Your intuition is sharp. Your spirit is loud. You don't second-guess anymore. You know when something is off. You know when to leave. You know when it's time to shift. That's what scares people, your knowing. Because it doesn't make sense to them. But it doesn't have to. It was never meant to. You carry too much light to keep explaining yourself in dark places. You carry too much purpose to keep shrinking in rooms not built for your expansion. You carry too much destiny to keep holding space for people still committed to staying stagnant. You're done negotiating with mediocrity. You're done holding on to things just because you once loved them. You're done making excuses for the versions of yourself that no longer exist. This is the season of clarity, of precision, of spiritual sharpness. Every step you take is sacred now. Every word you speak is intentional. Every space you enter shifts because you entered. That's not ego. That's alignment. You've remembered who you are, and the world feels it, whether they're ready or not. You are no longer shaken by being misunderstood. You're not here to be relatable. You're here to be revolutionary. Chosen ones aren't sent to comfort the world. They're sent to change it. And change always feels like a threat to those still trying to protect their illusions. Let it. You're not here to soothe egos. You're here to activate awakenings. You're no longer waiting for the moment. You are the moment. You are the shift, the energy, the sign, the confirmation someone else has been praying for. Your rise is the vibration that wakes others up. And that's why you can't afford to dim. That's why you can't afford to slow down, or doubt, or delay. There are souls connected to your courage. There are lives waiting on your light. So when they try you now, they're not just trying you. They're trying everything that made you. The pain, the process, the purpose. And they won't win. Not because you fight back, but because your power is too deep to be moved by anything small. You don't clap back. You don't retaliate. You elevate. And that elevation speaks volumes. Don't try a chosen one, because when they rise, They don't come for revenge. They come for everything that's theirs. And they take it without a word. There is a moment in a chosen one's life when the shift is no longer internal. It becomes seen. You walk into rooms and the atmosphere changes. People can't explain it, but they feel it. The weight of your presence, the clarity of your energy. You don't announce yourself anymore, your alignment does. You don't need to raise your voice. Your frequency speaks, and the ones who once doubted, they go quiet. Not because you silenced them, but because your becoming did. This is the part they never talk about, the aftermath of the becoming, when the world finally catches up to what you've always known. When you no longer have to say, just wait. When the things you envisioned in silence start to manifest in the open. You are no longer explaining yourself. You are showing up, fully, authentically, without fear, without doubt, with power. And this is also when the testing shifts. The world no longer tries to ignore you. Now it wants to challenge you in other ways. Through flattery, through temptation, through distraction disguised as opportunity. But you've evolved too much for that. You're not impressed by attention. You're not moved by titles. You're not swayed by imitation. You've built too much in solitude to let noise distort your vision. People think your glow-up was sudden, that your rise came out of nowhere. But what they don't see is what it cost. The silent seasons, the inner war, the nights of invisible healing, the discipline when no one was watching. They see the shine. They don't see the sacrifice. But you don't need them to, because you know, and that's what grounds you. You've become someone that cannot be recreated, not because you're perfect, but because you're real, unfiltered, sharpened, honest, whole. The kind of whole that came from being shattered, not celebrated. You don't carry pain the same way anymore. You don't wear your wounds like weakness. You've turned them into wisdom, into presence, into power. And that power is why they should never try you now. You don't react anymore. You respond. You don't chase. You choose. You don't break. You build. And the ones who thought they knew you have no idea who you've become. You didn't just rise. You transformed. You didn't just survive. You transcended. You are no longer explaining how far you've come. You are now the evidence. The whispers behind your back, let them echo. They are not a threat. They are a soundtrack to your momentum. Let them talk. Because while they talk, you move, you create, you evolve, you thrive. And in time, they'll be forced to admit what they refused to believe. You were never the problem. You were the pattern breaker. That's what chosen ones are. Not perfect people, but bold souls, sent to disrupt dysfunction, to heal bloodlines, to reset the frequency of entire generations. That's why the attacks were so personal. That's why the trials were so brutal. Because what you carry isn't just for you. It's legacy. It's impact. It's healing for everyone connected to your courage. You've entered a phase where you no longer argue with anything beneath your vibration. You don't clarify for confusion. You don't slow down to be understood. You're not arrogant. You're in alignment. And alignment is loud to people who haven't found their own. That's why you trigger some people without saying a word. Your peace threatens their chaos. Your presence exposes their lack of authenticity. But that's not your burden to carry. You're not here to shrink, to soothe fragile egos. You're not here to entertain drama or defend your boundaries. You're here to lead, quietly, boldly, unshakably, not from ego, but from knowing, from spirit, from purpose. You are not what happened to you. You are what you chose to become anyway. The old life is gone. The old habits are done. The old conversations no longer interest you. You don't relate to what you've outgrown. You don't engage where there is no alignment. You don't pretend anymore. And because of that, your world is changing. Faster, sharper, cleaner. What used to confuse you now reveals itself instantly. What once felt out of reach is now within arm's length, and you're ready for it. Because you stayed true. When others conformed, you stayed real. When others collapsed, you kept walking. When the world expected you to quit, you elevated. Silently, consistently, authentically. And that's why this version of you is untouchable. Not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. And you finally believe it. You no longer seek the old things. You're not interested in circles that never grew. You're not curious about people who made comfort their identity. You're not giving energy to what doesn't feed your spirit. You're done explaining your standards. You're done watering dead soil. You're done trying to fit in places that made you feel small. Now you expand. You expand into purpose, into vision, into rooms built for your frequency, into opportunities aligned with your truth, into conversations that elevate your soul, into decisions that lead to freedom. You don't shrink anymore. You shine, effortlessly, consistently, divinely. This isn't a season of chasing. It's a season of receiving. Not because you stopped working, but because your work has become resonance. You are in rhythm with who you were born to be. And that rhythm is magnetic. It pulls in everything that matches it and repels anything that doesn't. That's how you know you're here now, not almost, not trying, not someday, now. So if they still think they can try you, let them. They'll find out quickly. This isn't the one you try. This is the one who arrived. There's nothing left to prove now, nothing left to explain. You've walked through the fire. You've been underestimated, challenged, betrayed, and tested. And yet, you're still here, stronger, wiser, unshaken. Because chosen ones don't fall back. They rise, again and again and again. Let the world keep watching. Let the doubters keep guessing. You're no longer concerned with how others see you. You're focused on how you see yourself. And now, finally, you see the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to play small. You were always meant to disrupt, to elevate, to lead. So let this be the final word. Don't try a chosen one, not because they'll fight you, but because they won't need to. They'll just outgrow you, outlast you, and keep rising until you can't reach them anymore. And when they arrive at the top, they won't shout. They'll shine. And that light? It's already here. The story ends here. But your rise? It's just beginning.